Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Saturday, March the 4th, 2023. Today I want to talk about Alex Murdaugh, the former lawyer who's just been convicted of murdering his wife and son in South Carolina. I have his date of birth, I think, which I believe is June the 17th, 1968, and I'm going to look at his chart and see if I can pick anything up that might give some hints about what happened. But before I talk about Alex Murdaugh, I'm going to talk about today's stars. Well, the moon continues moving through Leo, and as I said yesterday, Leo is not a great sign for the moon. On the other hand, the moon is aspecting by trine, that's 120 degrees, Venus and Jupiter. And really, that's good news. Venus and Jupiter are in fire signs in Aries. The moon is in a fire sign in Leo. And regardless of the poor placement of the moon, when you put it together like that with Venus and Jupiter, it does create a fortunate situation. It means that energy is flowing. We can have fun, we can meet up with people, enjoy their company. From a business point of view, good time for meetings, good time for launching new projects. So I think that is good news. And I mean, we don't want to take things too far though, because once the moon has made this trine with Venus and Jupiter, it straight away makes a square aspect with Uranus. And I would say that would mean that we should keep things short. So if we were having a good meeting, things are working well, we just want to end it. Because if it goes on for too long, we might find that there's instability, unexpected events, circumstances change, and the photograph may become overexposed and may even become destroyed. And this is supported by the fact that Venus and Uranus are in a 30-degree aspect. 30-degree aspects tend not to be too fortunate. And so with relationships, if we spend too much time with a single person, the rough edges are going to start to manifest. There's going to be a sense of tension. So however much you know and love someone, try not to spend too long in their company. Now, on a different note, Mars is making a semi-square to the North Node. Now, the North Node in astrology is often connected with karma, what we should be doing with our lives. And the North Node is currently in Taurus. So with the North Node in Taurus, we should be seeking to stabilize our lives. All of us, not just if you're a Taurus, all of us should be trying to ground ourselves. We should be preparing for example, a recession, assuming we're not already in a recession. That means stewarding our money and resources. We should be honoring our promises. Really important actually now. I mean, not just now, but generally this year, this time we're in. We need to honor our promises, be stable and reliable. And that's the way to do the right thing. And if we do the right thing, our chances of being fortunate are at a maximum. But with Mars making a semi-square to the North Node, there's a temptation today to go off the rails. Going off the rails means perhaps breaking our promises, perhaps saying things which we have no intention of doing. So we make a promise, but we can't honor that promise. We might spread our resources too thinly at a time when we need to really be stewarding these resources. So don't go crazy today. Don't allow an unexpected event or indeed an unexpected whim to distract you. Keep it solid. Just keep your goals in mind. Understand that people are relying on you, and don't let people down. Now, as far as Alex Murdaugh is concerned, he was born, I believe, on June 17th, 1968, I assume in South Carolina. And I don't have a time of birth for him. So I was talking about the problems of birth times yesterday, and I often get criticized when I try to analyze a chart without a time of birth, but I think I have to. What if I don't have a time of birth? Does one just ignore it? No, I think one does have to give it a go. So, looking at the chart, here it is. Sorry it hasn't come out too well. As usual, I will try to improve my presentation, but this is a bit experimental. Here's the chart. So he's a Gemini. And in fact, Alex Murdaugh is a super Gemini, because if you look at these planets at the bottom of the chart, that's Venus, Sun, Mars, Mercury. They're all in Gemini. Now that might mean that at his peak he was a great lawyer. I mean, Gemini is a sign of talking. It's being able to move from one concept to another, and also being able to spin a good argument. So that was very much a part of who he is. I suppose, given this tangle around him with money and drugs and so on, he was probably an excellent liar. Some Geminis actually prefer to lie and tell the truth. The truth somehow is inferior to a lie. But he could certainly spin it out. And with Gemini, I mean, I'm speaking as a Gemini myself. There is a certain sense of arrogance with a Gemini. You can feel that you're cleverer than other people, and that might be a problem. Maybe he thought with these people he ripped off financially that he could get away with it. Perhaps he felt that they just were not up to his level, and this is what he could do. But just because you're a Gemini, just because you're a liar, doesn't mean you go and kill your wife and your son. I mean, that is extreme. I mean, I know that lawyers are often break the law. I mean, lawyers are not perfect. So lawyers do strange things. And yeah, he killed his wife and his son. So are there any hints there? Well, if you look at the chart, you will see that the moon is in late Pisces. So he has moon square Venus, Sun, Mars and Mercury. Now the moon is about emotion. Moon in Pisces, very different energy in a way to Gemini. Moon in Pisces is quite emotional, quite fluid. So his emotions could have got out of hand at that particular time. I mean, and of course he was taking drugs. I mean, he was on drugs. I don't know whether he was taking drugs when he killed these people, but when he killed his family. But that might have had an impact. But most importantly, the planet Uranus, it was opposition his moon, and he had Uranus in his natal chart. He has Uranus square Mars and Uranus square the Sun. Now that suggests a real temper when things got bad. He could just go off the rails. I think that was really possible, and I think that explains the extreme violence. And Mars Uranus is often connected with guns, the gunshot, and so that might explain why he did it. And as far as why he did it when he did it, I believe the murders happened on June the 7th, June the 7th, 2021. So why then? Well, at the time, there was a square aspect between Saturn and Uranus. Saturn was at approximately 1321 Aquarius. Uranus was at approximately 1244 Taurus. So what was happening was that Saturn was making a 135-degree aspect to Mercury. I'm really into these 135-degree aspects. 135 is 3/8 of a circle. It's important. So he was in one sense, he was in a very depressed state of mind, I think. He was feeling low about the world. But at the same time, Uranus was making an 135-degree aspect to his Mars. And that's very simple. Mars is about aggression. It's about anger. Uranus comes along and you might well do something drastic and you kill. Now, another thing about his chart is that he has the planet Neptune. Neptune, you can see, is at the top of the chart in Scorpio. His Neptune is on his Mars-Saturn midpoint. Now, Mars and Saturn, as I've said before, is about death. It's a death axis, and so he had Neptune on the Mars-Saturn midpoint. So Neptune is usually about drugs. And so Neptune on the Mars-Saturn midpoint, you just normally associate that with death by drugs. But he didn't poison his family, he shot them. So how does one figure that out? Well, it may be that Neptune on the Mars-Saturn midpoint, okay, in terms of his life, it was saying that he was... there was a frustration and an anger that he was dealing with through his drug addiction. That's what the suggestion is there. But it might also suggest that when he did the killing, he was not all there. Maybe he was under the influence. Maybe he was not able to see the situation clearly. But I should make the point, I do not have his time of birth. I found his date of birth via the internet. Now that he's been convicted, I can talk about it. Innocent till guilty, innocent till proven guilty, and all that. So those are my first feelings about his chart. Sorry I haven't got a time of birth, but it's something to think about, and also apologies for the presentation. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say for today, and I will see you tomorrow.